Hello, my YouTube family. Hope everybody is blessed and being a blessing to someone else. Today, I'm going to share with y'all from Chicken Soup from the Soul. It is chicken soup from the soul. That's it. So, I'm going to share a story out of here. Hopefully, you'll be encouraged and inspired. I love chicken soup, and I know everybody got some, not just the physical soup, but the natural soup, because it soothes your soul. So I'm going to read this one, and it's called On Learning and Teaching. It's called Cipher in the Snow. Cipher in the Snow. It says, it started with tragedy on a biting cold February morning. I was driving behind a Millform Corners bus as I did more snowy mornings on my way to school. It veered and stopped short at the hotel, which it had no business doing, and I was annoyed as I had come to an unexpected stop. A boy lurched out of the bus, reeled, stumbled, and collapsed on a snowbank at the curb. The bus driver and I reached him at the same moment. His thin, hollow face was white, even against the snow. "He's dead," the driver whispered. It didn't register for a minute. I glanced quickly at the scared young faces staring down at us from the school bus. "A doctor, quick, I'll phone from the hotel." "No use. I tell you, he's dead." The driver looked down at the boy's still form. "He's never even said he felt bad," he muttered. "Just tapped me on the shoulder and said real quiet, 'I'm sorry, I have to get off at the hotel.' That's all, polite and apologizing like." At school, the giggling, shuffling morning noise quieted as the news went down the halls. I passed a huddle of girls. "Who was it? Who dropped dead on the way to school?" I heard one of them half whisper. "Don't know his name. Some kid from Millport Corners," was the reply. It was like that in the faculty room and the principal's office. "I appreciate you going out to tell the parents," the principal told me. "They haven't a phone. And anyway, somebody from school should go there in person. I'll cover your classes." "Why me?" I asked. "Wouldn't it be better if you did it?" "I didn't know the boy," the principal admitted leavenly. "And in last year's sophomore personalities column, I noticed that you were listed as his favorite teacher." I drove through the snow and cold down the Bad Canyon Road to the Evans place and thought about the boy, Cliff Evans. His favorite teacher? Why, he hadn't spoken 2 words to me in 2 years. I couldn't see him in my mind's eye all right. I could see him in my mind's eye all right, sitting back there in the last seat in my afternoon literature class. He came in the room by himself and left by himself. Cliff Evans, I muttered to myself, a boy who never smiled. I never saw him smile, not even once. The big wrench kitchen was clean and warm. I blurted out my news somehow. Miss Evans reached blindly for a chair. "He never said anything about being ailing." His stepfather snorted. He ain't said nothing about anything since I moved in here." Miss Evans got up, pushed the pan to the back of the stove, and began to untie her apron. "Now hold on," her husband snapped. "I got to have breakfast before I go to town." "Nothing we can do now anyway. If Cliff hadn't been so dumb, he'll have told us he didn't feel good." After school, I sat in the office and stared bleakly at the records spread out before me. I was to close the boy's file and write his obituary for the school paper. The almost bare sheets mocked the effort. Cliff Evans, white, never legally adopted by his stepfather, 5 half-brothers and sisters. These meager strands of information and the list of D grades were about all the records had to offer. Cliff Evans had silently come in the school door in the mornings and gone out the school door in the evenings, and that was all. He had never belonged to a club. He had never played on a team. He had never held an office. As far as I could tell, he had never done one happy noisy kid theme. He had never been anybody at all. How do you go about making a boy into a zero? The grade school record showed me much of the answer. The first and second grade teachers read sweet, shy child, timid but eager. Then the third grade note had opened the attack. Some teacher had written in a good firm hand, Cliff won't talk, he's uncooperative, slow learner. The other academic sheet had followed with dull, slow-witted, low IQ. They became correct. The boy's IQ score in the ninth grade listed at 83, but his IQ in the third grade had been 106. The score didn't go under 100 until the seventh grade. Even timid, sweet children have resilience. It takes time to break them. I stumped to the typewriter and wrote a savage report, pointing out what education had done to Cliff Evans. I slapped a copy on the principal's desk and another in a sad, dog-eared file, slammed the file and crashed the office door shut as I left from home. But I didn't feel much better. A little boy kept walking after me, a boy with a peaked face, a skinny body, and faded jeans, and big eyes that had searched for a long time and then had become veiled. I could guess how many times he'd been chosen last to be on a team. How many whispered child conversations had excluded him. I could see the faces and hear the voices that said over and over, "You're dumb, you're dumb, you're just a nothing, Cliff Evans." A child is a believing creature. Cliff undoubtedly believed them. Suddenly it seemed clear to me. When finally there was nothing left at all for Cliff Evans, he collapsed on a snowbank and went away. The doctor might list heart failure as the cause of death, but that wouldn't change my mind. Jean Todd Hunter. That's the story by Jean Todd Hunter, y'all, about this little boy named Cliff. And then how can a child not have, been so unloved and unwanted? And we never know what goes on behind closed doors with children, and how sometimes what we say to a child is very important. So it's like if you got a child in your life or a grandchild, hug them and show them love. Because sometimes, they don't, we as teachers, when you go into the school, you don't know what that child is going through at home. And so, but you got to show love starts at home. Charity begins at home. So love on your children, your grandchildren, and show them love and tell them how important they are. Because sometimes what you say to them is how they think and how they react. They say that sticks and stones will break your bones, but words don't ever hurt. That's not true. Words do hurt. And sometimes those words can come years later like a broken record. Just like in this little boy named Cliff's life. He was ostracized, and kids probably didn't accept him because he was different. And it's like nobody knew about him because he was quiet in school, and he didn't, and so many reports about him. And even though through all of that, Cliff did have a life. Cliff was wanted. Cliff was valued. Cliff was, important. And sometimes it starts at home. Like the family got to start showing that love, and they go to school sometimes, and you don't know what's going on. But when this happened about him, almost not knowing that this child had stumbled and collapsed on a snow bank, like he stumbled, and she had to get out and see what was going on. And even the driver was saying that he's dead. And yet still, because of a child, this author didn't want to believe that. But he just dropped dead, and they don't know what happened. But they seemed like it was like from a broken heart because, like I said, what he was going through at home and what was going on. And the story didn't say why he died or what really happened. But I'm just saying that just to know that, just show your child love, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your neighbor's child, and always be there and be that voice for that child, because sometimes we don't know what's going on at home, and the teachers got to be aware, and they've got to report abuse. They got to report neglect and whatever's going on in that child's life. Just be aware of what's going on. And they got to keep that third eye open. They got to keep that intuitive, nature open to see what is going on with that child. Why is they acting the way they acting? Why is they quiet? Why is they withdrawn? Why is they not participating? It could be something going on at home. And so that's what I'm saying. And Cliff, and she didn't even know that Cliff thought that he was his favorite teacher. It's like he never said nothing all these years, and I was his favorite teacher, you know. And so he was saying that, the teacher was like, I didn't even know that because he didn't say nothing. He was quiet. But yet still, we don't know through children and how they speak and how they talk what's really going on behind closed doors. So we got to really listen to that child through sometimes unspoken, nonverbal languages. Sometimes children speak. So that's the story right here. Kind of a sad story, but it just shows you just how much we got to I'm not a teacher per se through children, but as a teacher, I know they have to keep their eyes on the children. It's so important to know that, to know your students, to know what's going on. And then her bringing this story, and I just wish the outcome would have been different, that he would have had a long life. And we just never know these days. We never know. So go home and hug your children. Go home and hug your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your niece, your nephew. Go home and hug them and tell them that they're loved. Tell them how special they are. Tell them how important that they are. It's very important that a child hears that so they can know that they are somebody and that they are loved. So I hope y'all enjoyed the story. They got something out of it. It's called Cipher in the Snow. And it is by Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Chicken Soup for the Soul, it's a lot of writers on here, but it's by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. Well, y'all be blessed. Okay, until next time, just know that, I love you, but above all, who? Jesus loves you. God bless you.